Halley's children. When you're granted power and immortality, how does it change you? Are you even human anymore? Every 70-ish years, Halley's comet comes close to the Earth. Sometimes when it is in our heavens, stars fall from the sky. In 1066, in the township of Hastings, a group of people encounter one of those stars, and it changes them forever. Hastings, England. Hastings Village, 1066. William the Conqueror is invading. Hastings is occupied by the Normans. Robert of Yu runs the town with his second-in-command, Pagan. A star falls, and a mix of Normans and Saxon villagers are drawn to see where it landed. All of them, including Robert and Pagan, gain strange powers and an immunity to the deleterious effects of aging. Our heroes: Ida, a fisherman's daughter, a shapeshifter. Halfthor, a reluctant spy, a psychic. Anoush, a traveling polymath, an immortal. The three of them make their escape with the mysterious orb that fell to Earth, but a betrayal by Halfthor's crew member draws them back to Hastings. They successfully rescue the others, escape Robert, and capture Pagan, who becomes Anoush's bodyguard. Anoush deciphers a code on the orb and learns that another will fall in Belgrade. The city of Belgrade, 1456. Mehmed II is laying siege to the city, having recently conquered Constantinople. Robert of Yu, whose power is to see the future, has taken on the name John Hunyadi and is leading the defense of the city. When our heroes arrive, they find him eager to cooperate with them to defend the city and be there for the starfall. When the star does fall, though, it hits the outer wall of the city and empowers two young women walking by it. Mila, a war orphan, gifted with wings. Yelena, a forest witch with control over plant life. During the siege, our heroes meet Loki and Gilgamesh, two people from legend who turn out to have been empowered in the same way, and they learn that they are part of a long line of legends. A conclave of empowered people is held, with more to be held every 50 years at the Iron Rose, a public house in England run by Hild, whose power is that everyone hearing her voice wants to fulfill her requests and aid her. Ida expresses gender dysphoria. Halfthor and Yelena fall in love. The empowered build a home on an island that they name Eternatus. Anoush and Robert learn from the new orb of the next starfall, which will be Ticonderoga. The New World, Fort Ticonderoga, 1759. The empowered arrive at the fort along with the army of Geoffrey Amherst, also known to our heroes as Robert of Yu. This time, the empowered have prepared with Anoush creating a hidden laboratory under the fort, and Halfthor creating a network of tunnels that led to a trading post before the fort was even built. Things seem well in hand until Cuchulainn arrives in disguise to announce that the Morrigan, a reclusive empowered person our heroes have not met, has taken over the fort with 10,000 troops and will hold it until Starfall, creating 10,000 more empowered. A conclave is held, and the empowered decide to defy the Morrigan's will and take the fort themselves. Anoush goes his own way and manipulates Philomore, an empowered whose loyalties are clearly shaky, into going to treat with the Morrigan, and goes along. The Morrigan is not impressed with either of them, but they are allowed to stay in the fort as long as they don't cause trouble. That night, Yelena has a dream in which the Morrigan visits her. Yelena learns about the Morrigan's origins and motivations, and guided by the Morrigan, dies for a minute before her heart starts once again, and she awakes with new power. Through tactics and a combination of powers, the empowered successfully invade Ticonderoga and drive out the troops. Anoush blows up the powder store. The Morrigan and Cuchulainn put up a fearsome fight, but in the end the Morrigan concedes. Halfthor calls a conclave and requests that Anoush be punished for his actions at Ticonderoga. A vote is held, and it is decided that no such punishment will be meted out. This causes Halfthor to lose faith in the Conclave, and especially in Gilgamesh, who he develops a beef against. The star falls, empowering a few French troops and erasing the Morrigan from existence. A new empowered, Hurrit, becomes the leader of the empowered. Pagan gains the power of flight and leaves to figure out life on his own for a while. Years later, Robert gets a premonition of an attack upon Eternatus, the island where the empowered make a home away from home, and sails there with Otto and Eadmund, two empowered who live a life on the sea. They are fast enough to meet the small fleet that is attacking just before they make it to the island. Robert, Otto, and Meerwine are all killed defending the island, but the attack is defeated in the end. Years later, the conflict that is known as World War II begins. Hurrit into its great danger in Europe and directs the empowered to stay out. This causes friction with some who see the need for actions against Nazi Germany and its allies. Halfthor in particular does not speak to Hurrit for a very long time after. Halfthor's resentment of Gilgamesh grows, despite Gilgamesh in reality being opposed to Hurrit's decision as well. The empowered learn that they have a secretive enemy, known as the Arm of St. George. This gives them something to focus on as they wait for the next starfall, which they have foreseen to cause a disaster with the Challenger. The Challenger disaster, Florida, 1986. In the real world, caused by a bad call regarding the temperature at liftoff. In the Halleyverse, it was caused by impact with a falling star. But before this, our empowered have another task. Anush has been kidnapped by the Arm of St. George, assisted, unknown to our heroes, by Philomore, who has turned on his own. They discover where he's being held with the help of Dio, like the god Dionysus, but now he's a rich fuckboy. And they begin an operation to rescue Anush, but it is a trap. Philomore shoots Halfthor, nearly killing him. Anush is rescued along with the mysterious Josh, but the building blows up, destroying any evidence of what was going on. Our heroes barely escape with their lives, and once they do get to a safe house, they are presented with the appearance of a ghost that has long accompanied Anush, which turns out to be an artificial intelligence that a future Anush is tapping into to send a message to the past. His message is hindered by censorship, but what gets through indicates that in the future they would be asked, is humanity worthy? And in that future, Anush's timeline, they had gotten the answer wrong. Our heroes, sans Halfthor, rush to Libya on the trail of the Arm of St. George, but what they find is that the entirety of the arm has killed themselves, possibly at the behest of empowered beings they created called the Anointed. Meanwhile, Halfthor is hunting down Philomore. He tracks him down to Egypt and heads there with Hurrit and Loki. The others, led by Hild, meet them at the airport in Cairo, where they find and capture and then execute Philomore. That done, our heroes are able to turn back to other priorities. In Anush and Yelena's case, this means finding a way to save the Challenger crew. Yelena successfully gets the launch escape system, or LES, installed in the orbiter. Anush replaces the pilot, legitimately, and has Cuchulainn replace the mission commander, less legitimately. Meanwhile, Dio and Halfthor have a tense meeting with Gilgamesh. Halfthor releases a lot of potential political dirt into the public domain to make sure those in power are occupied with saving their own careers. And the boys take a boat trip with Hild and Hurrit and Josh. They confirm their suspicions that Josh is in fact the man known today as Jesus Christ. He has the ability to do miracles, but generally only on a small scale. When he is killed, he comes back in 3 days with a cloudy memory. They also make contact with Meerwine, who has actually been alive the whole time. I lied to you back there, sorry. And growing somehow into the size of the entire Atlantic Ocean. She and Dio have a connection. We move to launch day. During countdown, Anush quickly tells the crew that they are in danger. Just before the collision, he and Cuchulainn use Cuchulainn's elasticity power to form a barrier around the other astronauts with their bodies to help cushion the blow. The explosion happens, but the astronauts are empowered with abilities that help them survive. Everyone uses the LES to escape the plummeting orbiter and parachute to safety. Krista McAuliffe's chute, however, doesn't open, but she has been gifted the power to be living flame, and she lights up and uses jets of flame to slow her descent and allow her to fly. This is seen by the onlookers, as well as the millions watching the scene on television, and thus empowered people's existence is made public. The government tries to take our heroes in very soon after, having received information on the empowered that encompassed most of what Fillmore had known. They manage to escape, but not without shedding blood. Dio goes off to live on a houseboat with Mirwine, and the rest of the gang make their way across the country to the Pacific Northwest, where they eventually find Ida. It becomes a world of oppression for empowered people. Halfthor and Yelena turn themselves in and are incarcerated for many years, while the rights of metas, as they are called, are fought for. Eventually, the tide turns, and they are released, but not for quite a long time. Time passes. Eternatus becomes an independent nation that houses a world-renowned university. Many leaps are made in technology, including the Fabricator, a sort of like it's halfway between a 3D printer and a Star Trek replicator, right in the middle. This technology will change the world, but it also allows our heroes to access the information on the most recent fallen star. When fed into a fabricator, this information constructs a machine, along with instructions to take that machine and use it at the 500-meter aperture spherical telescope, also known as Heaven's Eye. Southern China, July 28, 2061. What awaits them here at the world's largest single-dish radio telescope? Will they finally encounter the source of their powers and bring their plotline to some sort of an ending? It's the last chapter, so that's pretty likely.